Hello and welcome to the OK Preps Extra Podcast. I am Patrick Prince, joined as always by Barry Lewis, the master who is all high school knowledge. So we're here, we'll talk a little signing day, get into a little bit of basketball, and talk a little bit about All World, which is coming up on Saturday, starting with football. So Barry, you and I didn't talk last week. Let's recap signing day a little bit. And we've talked about him before, but you and I are both big fans of Kirk Francis. He's now officially going to be a Golden Hurricane. Your thoughts on that?
Yes, it was. I think it's Kirk Francis committing to TU is a really good fit. I think it's. We've talked about Kirk for several months. It was always puzzling to me why he wasn't getting more interest from major colleges, and because I think he definitely can play at that level. I've thought so since his sophomore year, when he, especially after the championship game in his sophomore year. I mean, he's got everything you're looking for, and I'm just really high on him. And it's great to see that process played out where he is going to get this opportunity at TU. So I think it's a really good fit for both parties. And I know Paul Smith, one person we talked about recently, as one of my all-time top players that I've covered, former Owasso and TU quarterback who was in the NFL a little bit. I know he's been a mentor and a big help in this process with Kirk. And, I think that says a lot too. So I think it's also just really refreshing to see the emphasis that the new TU coaching staff is putting on recruiting local talent. It's not that Philip Montgomery ignored local talent, but it just seems like it's extra important to this current TU staff. And I think for TU to progress and to become really the community's team, that's a must.
So I kind of feel like TU kind of did ignore local talent in the Montgomery era. Is that, but you just now said the exact opposite. Is that?
Well, I think they didn't. I don't think you can say they totally ignored local talent. They did recruit some local players. They just didn't recruit. I just don't think it was an emphasis for them.
Okay.
It seems like this has been an emphasis. I mean, it seems like with Coach Montgomery, and again, he did a lot of good things for TU. So this is not really want to have this be interpreted as a bash Philip Montgomery time, because he did do some good things at TU. Absolutely. But it seemed like with him, it was like, let's look other places first, and then we'll look at TU at the Tulsa area.
Yeah.
That's the way it seemed. Because there were some Tulsa signings and some really good ones. Shamari Brooks, who we've talked about, from Union, who became one of the all-time leaders in rushing at TU. So in that, I had the domino effect in the current, the recent signings, like in December, of Devin Robinson and Grayson Tempest. I think that had an influence. Shamari's success there, I think, caught their attention. So that's why I think it is so important. One of the reasons it's so important to put an emphasis on local recruiting, because when a player from a certain school has success at TU, like Shamari Brooks did from Union, then that catches the players who are following Shamari at Union. That puts TU on the radar with them. And besides, those guys can play. Now, you just don't want to recruit local if they can't play major college football. But we've got so much talent here that I feel has been, and a lot of them were ignored by the previous TU coaching staff. And now it looks like that's going to be a point of emphasis for this current TU staff. When you see all the signings that have taken place.
I'm kind of a fan, Barry, of Grayson Tempest. I only saw him play a couple of times, the Union wide receiver, but was glad to see him land at TU so we can just go down the road a little bit and watch him play his high school career. What do you think of him at the college level?
I think, he's a coach's son, So he's got, like most coaches' sons, they've got a really good high IQ, high football IQ. So very savvy player, can play multiple positions, very versatile. So he's got all that going for him. I mean, he's a playmaker, no matter where you put him on the field. So I think, again, he is a really good fit at TU.
Yeah. And also another, it's you and I said this before we went live, Barry. It sounds like this is the TU podcast in a way, because all these are TU guys, but like we've said, Kevin Wilson in his first class signed some guys that we're used to seeing around here, some local stars. So we're just kind of picking apart a couple of those, but it's a certain TU flavor today in our high school podcast. What do you think about Zane Woodham? I mean, he put up monster stats as a two-way player at Holland Hall, as a walk-on, but I think he might do some damage. What do you think?
Oh, I agree. And before I talk about Zane, further point on the TU recruiting, I think most of these TU signees that we've mentioned, they wouldn't be going to TU if Coach Wilson and his staff weren't here. So, I mean, if Coach Montgomery had been here, I mean, from what it seems to be, I mean, although he did recruit Devin Robinson of Union, and Devin had committed to TU, but then decommitted, then came back after he got re-recruited by Coach Wilson. But it seems like at least most of these players weren't really, they didn't appear headed or to TU if Coach Montgomery had stayed, or at least they didn't seem like they were on their radar screen. So now moving ahead to Zane Woodham from Holland Hall. Yeah, he's a player, all-world award winner from last year that I'm very high on. Again, just whether it's offense or defense, he's just a winner. I mean, he can do a lot of things. And I was really puzzled why he wasn't getting more looks last year. And I just have a feeling that I haven't seen him obviously in the past year, but I just have a feeling that he's probably taken this past year and has gotten a lot bigger. He's gotten stronger, at least, done a lot of weight room work. And that's just my gut feeling, being familiar with him from his time at Holland Hall, that he's taken the past year and put it to good use. And I'm excited to see what he can do at TU.
Yeah, me too. All right, let's talk a little basketball, high school basketball. So you and I have talked about this before, Barry, about your issue with the OSSAA locking in their seedings way, way too early, which we will have them in about, Monday afternoon. We're filming this on Monday. We'll have the seedings here in a couple hours. But it sort of underscores your point when you look at action from last week and what happened there. Yeah, correct?
Yes, and this isn't the first time it happened. It happened last year too, because we got hit by snow that wiped out school classes at most schools last year at exactly the same time. So it's 2 years in a row, that National Signing Day, which is that last week of college, of the high school, large school play before the rankings are set that determine the playoff pairings and seedings. So it's just really ridiculous, because now every regular season game from now on, it doesn't count. It does not count as far as the playoff seedings and pairings. So the last 2 weeks of the regular season, except for the determined conference championships, are really worthless. They're just playing for fun, playing to get ready. So to have like an entire week almost wiped out of huge games, it's ridiculous that you've still got this setup, that the same type of setup that you had in the 1980s, that you can't, they're just sort of like stuck in this mindset, that the OSSA is stuck in this mindset where you got to have like 2.5 weeks to prepare for, I know that's easy for me to say because I don't have to arrange for the officials and everything, but it just seems like, really, with all the technological advances that have happened in the last 40 years, that you can't like extend the date another week And if you can't do that, then just go to districts, because this is ludicrous that you've still got this setup. I mean, Hale, as we speak now, I'm planning to go to the Hale Memorial game tonight. You've got the number 1 and number 3 ranked teams in the East before the final rankings are released. What a matchup. What a great matchup. And it doesn't count towards the seedings. I mean, if Hale were to win tonight, Hale could be the number 1 seed instead of Memorial. I mean, but this game doesn't count. This is stupid that it doesn't count. I mean, last week in 6A East, the Owasso at Booker T game was wiped out. It's not ever going to be played. I mean, they didn't just postpone it; they canceled it, and why not? Doesn't mean anything now, except in the Frontier race, which is going to be won by Broken Arrow. So Owasso and Booker T are never going to play in the regular season, because why? It doesn't matter. But if it would have been played last week, it would have mattered, because Booker T was holding on to the 4th seed in the East. And the reason that's important is the top 4 seeds host regionals.
Yep.
And here you've got Owasso coming on strong. Owasso's won 8 in a row. They're trying to move into that number 4 slot. And so this game could mean everything as far as playoff implications. And because you can't play it before February 6th, it's not going to count. So why play it at all? Not going to play it. So what a shame. I mean, that would have been a huge game. And you just see instances of this all over the place, where it's amplified by the fact that all these key matchups last week got wiped out by the weather. So what a shame.
Yeah. Parker Fredrickson of Bixby was let out of his letter to Notre Dame, so he's now a free agent to go anywhere. Bill Hayson will get into this later this week with a column. He's going to talk to Parker and all that, but just your initial thoughts on that.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see where Parker winds up at. I know, and this was reported on that TU paid a visit to Bixby last week. So obviously the current TU coaching staff has some interest in him. And I think he would be a great fit at TU. I think it'd be a great fit for both parties. So obviously Parker can go a lot of places. National recruit, having a great season, averaging 30 points a game. And I think at TU, he could really shine, and TU really needs a player like Parker. I think he could be a difference maker in the program if he were to go there. Of course, he's got a lot of great options, but it's interesting that that TU, obviously Eric Kunkel, Parker's very much on his radar screen. So that's good to see, because TU can use some help, big time help. The TU basketball team right now, as Bill Haston wrote in his column Sunday, it's not good. It's as I would say, I've been watching TU basketball a long time. It's the worst team since 1977. So there's no sugarcoating it. It's the worst team in 45 years or so. Just not a lot there. It was nice that they rallied yesterday against Wichita State in the last 3 minutes, but why wasn't there any urgency in the first 37 minutes against Wichita? They were down by 24, cut it to 8. But I think it also shows you, I guess, how valuable Anthony Pritchard is.
Yeah.
This TU team. I talk about local people in Anthony Pritchard from Webster, that they looked lost without him yesterday. He was ill, so he couldn't play. So I guess we realized after seeing TU yesterday that Anthony Pritchard is pretty valuable for them. So TU could use some help. They've got some really good recruits signed. Parker Frederickson could really accelerate TU's comeback process if somehow if he committed and signed with TU. And I just think it's a great fit for him because TU could use someone who's like a big-time point scorer. I mean, they could use a Max Asmus.
Yeah,
Parker has that capability.
Yeah. So we're filming this on a Monday afternoon, Barry. Barry and I will record an additional podcast later in the week, Thursday, maybe Friday, to break down the all-world teams, which begin in Saturday's Tulsa World with all-world football. So I know you've been planning that for a long while, Barry.
Yes.
Talk to coaches and do pick teams and all that. Do all that you do, so that the football comes out Saturday. Barry and I will do a podcast to accompany that, where we'll have Barry talk about all his decisions. And then Barry, let's remind people of the rest of the all-world schedule. Starts with football on Saturday.
Right, all-world football Saturday, all-state football on Sunday. Then you've got all-world softball Monday, cross-country Tuesday, volleyball Wednesday.
Yeah. So happy to get those published and in the paper. We are going to have our all world awards banquet this summer. The date has been set and the venue has been set, but we'll wait before we get into specifics till everything is kind of ironed out. But we will have a show again. Always a good time. Appreciate Bill Knight for all of his support for the All Worlds, and we're talking about doing some new things this year for All Worlds. So hopefully, for those of you who attend, we might have a couple surprises. Barry, anything else on your mind?
I think that'll do it until we reconvene on Friday to talk All World.
Who's your Super Bowl pick?
Going with the Eagles.
Because?
Although Mahomes was amazing in the championship game, considering his health, I'm still not totally convinced on his health situation. And just the fact that the Eagles, the way they played in the playoffs, wow. I mean, I had my doubts about the Eagles going into the playoffs, but the way they played in their 2 playoff games, they're going to be tough to overcome.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. You can download us for free on Google, Apple, or Spotify. Appreciate you checking us out. And Barry, you and I will catch up Thursday or Friday, and we'll talk All World.
Sounds good.